feel like the passion for something like that is what's most important. I know a lot of people who, go to college and for one thing and end up doing something else. Are there any other
Yeah.
skills that you think are really important or necessary, or maybe education required for your kind of career path or something similar to what you want to do?
No, there's that's one thing that it's really hard for the young people looking to work in athletics. it, I always joke and compare us to, like, if you're going to be an accountant, right? You get your CPAs, you go through a couple of years, you do your level ones, you do go a couple more years, you do level two. Like, there's this set path that you walk, and that would have been the case at a state in engineering. Like, do this, then do step B, then do step C. In athletics, everybody you would talk to has walked a totally different path, both from a career standpoint and work, but also educationally. And so there's not any one direction I would tell you to go. I think there's two pieces of advice that I got that I always say to young people in the business. And the first was, um, start walking towards a big goal, and it'll start to define itself as it goes. So for me, um, I want to be a Division I athletic director. So I went to the athletic director at the University of Tennessee, and by that time I was working in the athletic department, and I said, educationally, what's next? And he recommended law school, and he told me why, and it made good sense. And so that was my next step, because I wanted to be where he was. So that's my first piece of advice is get your pie in the sky ridiculous idea. And for me, that was, I'm going to be the athletic director at the University of Tennessee, and then figure out, how do you start walking towards that? Now, they wouldn't hire me now, and I wouldn't fit that role for all, at all. That's not what my career became. But it did help me to initially start down a path that led me to find even something I was more passionate about. So that's one thing. And the other thing, in college athletics, you're still working in higher education. You are still working in a leadership role with college students. So at some point, you've at least got to get a master's, or you'll essentially grade out of a position at some point. You're going to be on campus, and at some point, they're going to say, hey, we've got to have somebody that has at least a master's degree, maybe a professional or doctorate degree. But so those are the two things I always say. In college athletics, that second one's more needed. In the pros, your education, you may or may not need a master's degree, but you won't necessarily grade out of a position, so to speak.